battle in the special vehicle title race had been narrowed down to 3 crews, with some tight championship battles having developed in the various classes. With only 2 races remaining, it was crunch time for those with title aspirations. But the Human Auto 400 also saw the return to action of Bloemfontein favourite Peter Ruthven in the ex-Jacques Wheeler bat.
Yeah, it's an excellent car. Car was built end of last year and I was only raced 3 races this year. And when it came on the market, I had to convince my wife for a half second that I think I must go back to racing. And yeah, here I am, I'm back, and it's very nice to be back racing again.
A new car from Zarco designer Hendrik Fourie attracted a great deal of attention. Sporting radical bodywork complete with windscreen, Neil Meyer and Leon Miller were set to give the Strado Zarco Challenger its first outing.
Well, basically it's a Zarco. It's a new Challenger. It's the first one in South Africa. You can see it's got the windscreen as well. So I think that's a big benefit. It's got the LS2 with a Albin sequential gearbox. And the body is basically designed, I think it's more like a BMW X6. But yeah, we'll test it. It's quite new. We haven't tested a lot. I think we've only spent 10 minutes yesterday in the car. So we'll see how it goes today.
From the new to the tried and tested, with the father and son crew of Cully and Quinton Sulwalt in a position to clinch back-to-back special vehicle championships.
The championship is almost there, but my viewpoint from the beginning is the championship will look after itself. We came 900 kilos for this race. That is what's on our minds, this race, not the championship. So our tactics will be to go out there and try and perform the same that we did last year, try and defend the title that we put up here last year. So yeah, we will go out there and do our level best, as always.
2 Sulwalt crews and former champion Evan Hutchison and Dani Stassen were the only teams left in the Special Vehicle Championship race. With a 24-point lead, reigning champions Cully and Quinton Sulwalt were in pole position.
The 5 top-seeded crews in the special vehicle category also draw for start positions on the Donaldson Prologue. The father and son pairing of Herman and Richard Sulwalt drew first on the road, followed by Mark Corbett and former SA champion Francois Jordan and championship leaders Cully and Quinton Sulwalt.
It has taken them a while to settle into the Premier Class A category, but it finally fell into place for brothers David and Gary White in the Rubicon Racing bat. The pair were front-runners in Class P before moving up a notch and scored their maiden Donaldson Prologue victory in convincing style. Driver David is Bloemfontein-based, and the brothers made full use of some local knowledge to blitz the rest of the field. Behind the Rubicon Racing pair, the husband and wife team of Marius and Yolinda Fourie continued their resurgence of form in the PHB bat. They finished 35 seconds behind the Whites and led the Class P contingent. Overall championship leaders Cully and Quinton Sulwalt were third in the Elegant Fuel bat, but were just over 90 seconds behind the Fouries and around 2 minutes behind the Whites.
A second Class P crew in the form of Swaziland pair John Thompson and Clinton McNamara cracked a top 5 placing in the Zarco, but were 36 seconds off the pace set by the Sulwalts. Next up were Peter Ruthven and Rudy Brits, with the pair coming up with an encouraging performance in their first outing in the Rubicon Racing bat. A little local knowledge also came into play for the Bloemfontein-based pair, and they had 19 seconds to spare over Evan Hutchinson and Dani Stassen in the Motorite Revo. Hutchison won the 4x4 Mega World 400 with rookie co-driver Megan Verluck, but regular navigator Dani Stassen was back in the harness. One of 3 crews left in the Special Vehicle Championship race, the experienced Hutchison and Stassen needed a good result to keep alive their title hopes. Despite aids like GPS, a roadbook and route markers, co-drivers were being made to work hard on the tight and tricky course.
The Delete brothers Marco and Jeremy from the Democratic Republic of the Congo added an international flavor to the race, and they were an impressive 7th in the Sure Speed Zarco. The DRC visitors edged out Sun City 400 winners Richard Fuller and Jeff Minute in the Atlas Copco bat, who were 8th overall in the special vehicle category and 3rd in Class P behind the Fouries and John Thompson and Clinton McNamara.
The Sun City 400 saw Fuller and Minute earn their place in the record books by becoming only the 4th Class P crew to win an ABSA national event overall. The experienced Minute has won races sitting alongside the likes of John Weir-Smith and Nardis Alberts, but in only his 5th off-road outing, kart racer Fuller also became the first rookie driver to take overall honours in a national championship event. Minute and Fuller cut it fine and were just 4 seconds ahead of Nick Gosler and Andrew Massey in the Men's Health International Zarco. Gosler and Massey have had a good season, and the pair had half a minute to spare on Nick and Ryan Harper, who completed the top 10 among the special vehicles in their Motorite Bat.
Line honours in Class B went to the consistent Macanetti brothers, Keith and Andrew, in a Zarco. They put together a solid run to lead home KwaZulu-Natal crew and early championship leaders Leon Botma and Quinton Brand in a bat. Coming in behind the KZN pair with the father and daughter combination of Kutsia and Sandra Labuskachny in the Race Sonic Zarco.
With co-drivers having to work hard to earn their keep, it had proved to be a difficult route for the Special Vehicle Brigade, but there were no major issues among the front runners.
When it gets close to the end of the year, it's always good to be at the front, and we're looking forward to it. We know they're going to come out and give it their best shot, so we're going to have to do the same.
Nee, dit was baie lekker roete geweest. Baie draadjies. Navigator moet haar ding gedoen het langs my vandag om my op die pad te hou het, maar dit lekker gegaan. Dit's lekker baan.
On race day, there was a relaxed atmosphere in the pits. Enthusiasts wandered through chatting to drivers and admiring the vehicles. Drivers and co-drivers happily signed autographs with an air of camaraderie amongst competitors. If there were butterflies in the tummy, they belonged to David White, who was in pole position in the Rurikon Bat for the first time in his career.
Yes, we got pole yesterday for the first time. It's something new for us. We're just going to go out and enjoy it and go as fast as we can for as long as we can.
A little tension started to creep into proceedings as the clock wound down to the start. Drivers and co-drivers have their own ways and means of handling pre-race nerves, but by and large, off-road racing crews are a pretty relaxed bunch. The Himan Auto 400 was vying for attention with a Currie Cup rugby match between the Free State Cheetahs and Griquas, but the start had drawn large numbers of enthusiasts who are looking forward to a race full of action and drama.
Local crew David and Gary White were the first car to be flagged away. The race was run in real time, which meant that cars were flagged away according to their Donaldson Prologue times. It was a recipe for excitement from the word go, and with the start resembling a mini rally stage, just sit back, relax, and then enjoy the action.
The race was to be run over 2 loops, with the first 30 kilometers of the opening loop following the route for the previous day's Donaldson Prologue within the De Brugge military base. One certainty was that it was going to be hot and dusty.
First place on the road in any off-road event provides the leading crew with major advantages. With a clear road ahead and no dust, it's an early opportunity to put some distance between you and the chasing pack. David and Gary White were in the box seats in the Rurikon Racing Bat, and with the early part of the route flat and open, the brothers were belting along at a rapid rate of knots. Chasing after the dust trail up ahead were Anthony Taylor and Chris Birkin in the Team Castrol Toyota Hilux that was testing a new cooling system to be used by the Imperial Toyota team on next year's Dakar Rally. There were early problems for the crew when they damaged the front suspension and were then forced to pull off the route.
With Anthony Taylor and Chris Birkin out of action, Marius and Jolinda Fourie inherited second place on the road with the PHB Bat crew firmly in control of Class P. The Fouries have made a huge impression since graduating from the Northern Region Series into the National Championship ranks. There are no airs and graces about the team, and after going through a dodgy patch, the husband and wife pair bounced back to form with a podium finish and Class P honours on the 4x4 Mega World 400 at Carnival City. The ABSA Championship is so competitive at the sharp end of the stick that a minor mechanical problem can drop you out of the running, and Taylor and Birkin were still inspecting the damage when South African champions Chris Visser and Japie Badenhorst went steaming past in the Team Ford Ranger. They were followed by Duncan Force and Rob Howie in the second of the Team Castrol Toyota factory entries, and in no time at all, Taylor and Birkin had gone from sitting pretty to a situation where they now had a mini mountain to climb.
Class E champions Pikkie Labuschagne and Rikus Erasmus have also made a huge impression since moving into the Premier SP class in the production vehicle category. The pair took over the Peter Ruthven Rudy Brits Rurocon Toyota Hilux midway through the season, and a near miss on debut on the Sun City 400 was followed by a maiden national championship overall win on the 4x4 Mega World 400. Fourth on the Donaldson Prologue behind three factory cars showed the Sun City and 4x4 Mega World results was no flash in the pan. Labuschagne and Erasmus were running ahead of teammates Loda Brain and Rudy Brits, who were reveling in a Rurocon Racing Ford Ranger that now had the benefit of V8 power. Chasing after the Bloemfontein crew were Peter Maritzburg teenager Lance Woolridge and Ward Huxtable in the second diesel-powered Team Ford Ranger. Young Woolridge was hampered by injuries late last season and in the early part of his term, with the team finally realizing their potential with a podium finish on the 4x4 Mega World 400. It was Woolridge's first podium and marked a coming of age for the son of former South African champion Neil Woolridge.
A little further back, veteran Alfie Cox, in his first race this year, appeared to be shaking off the ring rust in the PS Laser Nissan Navara. Cox and German co-driver Jürgen Schroeder lost a place to Woolridge and Huxtable at the start, but had now settled into a rhythm. Keeping track of cars ahead was also not too difficult, and all one had to do was follow the dust trail up ahead.
After moving out of the De Brugge military base, the route took cruise towards Abrahamskraal before swinging towards the N8 highway between Bloemfontein and Kimberley. Along the route, a number of spectator points allowed off-road enthusiasts to take in some great racing.
At the front of the field, the Rubicon Bat in the hands of brothers David and Gary White continued to take advantage of a dust-free road ahead of them. Everything looked to be under control for the brothers, but there were ominous signs that all was not well and that the Whites were in a spot of trouble. There were some strange noises coming from the back of the car and the pace was slowing.
With the noise from the back of the Rurocon Bat getting progressively worse, the Whites pulled off the track and their race was over. A burst rear shock absorber signaled the end of the road. It was a bitter pill for the Whites, who so desperately wanted a maiden victory. It was a sad end for the pair, and the spotlight shifted to Marius and Jolinda Fourie, who were now leading both the special vehicle category and Class P in the PHB Bat. It was now the Fouries who had a clear road ahead of them, and for the third time in 7 races this season, a Class P crew were running at the front of the special vehicle category on an ABSA National Championship event. Charging along behind the Fouries were production vehicle leaders Chris Visser and Japie Badenhorst in the Team Ford Ranger. A win on the Toyota 1000 Desert Race in Botswana and the extra points earned on the only marathon event on the calendar ignited their championship challenge. 2 non-finishers followed, and the reigning SA champions were now coming under severe pressure from Duncan Foss and Rob Howie in the Team Castrol Toyota Hilux.
With heavy dust playing a role, Foss and Howie decided discretion would be the better part of valor, and with the Team Castrol Toyota Hilux sounding healthy, the pair dropped back to be nearly half a minute behind the Ford. The Rubicon Toyota Hilux of Pikkie Labuschagne and Rikus Erasmus was now running third among the production vehicles, with the pair losing time when they were at odds with the roadbook.
It was a little hiccup that cost Labuschagne and Erasmus just a few seconds, but they were still maintaining a comfortable gap between themselves and teammates Loda Brain with Rian Greylen, who was going along steadily in the Rurocon Ford Ranger. Behind the Bloemfontein crew, there had been a change in the race order. Alfie Cox and Jürgen Schroeder chased down Lance Woolridge and Ward Huxtable, and the PS Laser Nissan crew had regained the place they lost to the Ford Ranger at the start. Despite dropping back behind Cox and Schroeder, the Team Ford pair was still handily placed and just over 3 minutes behind the leaders.
The father and son team of Hicho and Jaap de Bruin were only around 10 seconds behind the Ford Ranger and were pushing hard in the Micra XL Toyota Hilux. The de Bruins had taken a few seconds off Woolridge and Huxtable, but were being chased by the Regent Racing Nissan Navara of Terence Marsh and George Smallberger, with Cully and Quinton Sulwald running interference in the Elegant Fuel Bat. While Marsh and Smallberger had a clear road ahead of them, Special Vehicle Championship leaders Cully and Quinton Sulwald were looking a little out of sorts and at 6s and 7s in the Elegant Fuel Bat. The Palabora-based father and son team were first in Class A and second among the Special Vehicle Brigade and had an opportunity on the Himon Auto 400 to put the lid on back-to-back championships. They looked to be struggling a little with the roadbook, and a wrong turn at a road crossing led to a little detour.
The Sulwalds were doubling back on their tracks when Evan Hutchison and Donnie Stassen arrived on the scene in the Motorrad Revo and sneaked in ahead of them. Hutchison and Stassen were one of two crews still in with a chance of upsetting the champions in the title race, and the Sulwalds now had to contend with some serious dust.
Championship contenders Terence Marsh and George Smallberger went into the Himon Auto 400 in joint second place in the Production Vehicle Championship. The Regent Racing Nissan Navara pair was sporting a 100% finish record, with their success story firmly pinned on the back of consistency. The Hutchison-Stassen Motorrad Revo went steaming past Marsh and Smallberger to start the ball rolling for a little game of high-speed musical chairs. A little further down the road, the Motorrad car was doubling back after an overshoot and nipped in ahead of the Regent Racing Navara.
Swaziland crew John Thompson and Clinton McNamara started fourth among the special vehicles, moved up to third with the demise of the Whites, and then went back to fourth behind Hutchison and Stassen. The Zarko was holding station ahead of veterans Yanni Visser and Yorks Leroux, who were making steady progress in their international Toyota Hilux. They were running ahead of Richard Fuller and Jeff Minnett, with the Atlas Copco back dragging along bits of undercarriage.
Next up, with the ever-steady Nick and Ryan Harper in the Motorrad Bat, with the pair being chased by Johan van Staden and James Rousseau in the Atlas Copco Bat. The Atlas Copco crew were starting to come under pressure from the Sulwald Racing SVR of Herman and Wichard Sulwald, who were on a mission after a disappointing prologue saw them start 11th among the specials and 27th on the road.
There was more disappointment for the Rubicon Racing team when Bloemfontein crew Peter Ruthven and Rudy Brits parked the newly acquired Bat on the side of the road. Engine problems had laid them low.
60 kilometers in and they start cutting out and there's no power. So I don't know if the fuel is running hot or what is going on, but we'll sort it out for the next race.
It had turned into a fine summer day, with conditions perfect for watching off-road racing. While out on the course, reigning champions Dion Venter and Ian Palmer had taken early control of Class D in the 4x4 Mega World Toyota Hilux. Brothers Keith and Andrew Macanetti were also tightening the screws in Class B in the Zarko, with the pair starting to come under pressure from brothers Johan and Werner Horn, who had picked up a couple of places in the Malalan Toyota Land Cruiser running in Class D. Behind the Mpumalanga-based brothers, there had been a change in Class E, with the Sizwe Toyota Hilux of Dirk Butter and Chris Claessens moving ahead of prologue winners Gerald Leroux and Walter Hickley in the Rubicon Racing Ford Ranger.
The Himon Auto 400 continues right after this.